All right, so UFC 319 is in the books. It is finished, and we have got a brand new champion of the world. The first Chechen champion, because yes, Khamzat Chimaev, Boris, the undefeated, went out there and absolutely ragdolled Dricus Du Plessis from start to finish. It wasn't even close. I mean, when you look at the judges' scorecards, the scores were 50-44, 50-44, and 50-44, all across the board. Now, there was a 10-8 round thrown in there. There could have been a few more 10-8s. The reality was Khamzat Chimaev went out there and just wiped the floor with him. He did. Dricus never gave up. Fair play to Dricus Du Plessis. He stayed composed. He stayed focused. He didn't panic. He didn't quit. He didn't give up on himself. In between rounds at the start of the fight, he was still kind of jovial and saying, look, listen, I got this. At the end of the fight, he was still confident of getting a finish. And his best moment came at the end of the fight. In round 5, he managed to stop a takedown. He landed a couple of shots on the feet, managed to get top position, but then Khamzat Chimaev, with that freakishly good wrestling that he has, was able to turn the tide and get on top once again. Now, as soon as the fight started, we knew about the wrestling from Khamzat Chimaev, but it was just seconds. And I mean seconds before Khamzat Chimaev was able to get the first takedown. Dricus hung on to a headlock. There could have been a Vlad flu choke there, but he let go of it. Obviously, he was wise to that. There was a couple of Kimura attempts here and there from Khamzat. Of course, he was trying to get the rear naked choke here and there as well. He was trying to get finishes. He was trying to get the stoppage. He was, but he couldn't do it because Dricus was defending. Now, Dricus spent a lot of the time in the crucifix position. When Khamzat took him down in the first round, just within seconds, he managed to get to side control, pin one of the arms down with his knees. The other hand you trap using your head. Then you have the other arm free to land shots, to crack him in the face and ultimately get the finish. Dricus did a really, really good job of burying his head. I mean, with my bad neck, I couldn't do it, but he was really turning his head to the side. He was trying to shell up or turtle up, if you will, to limit the target for Khamzat Chimaev. But it wasn't enough. He spent a lot of time in that crucifix. And yeah, okay, a 10-8 round, a 10-9 round, it doesn't matter. It was a very, very dominant display. I'm sure Dricus Du Plessis would agree. Now, he says he's not done, he's not finished.
And I'll be back, and I'm coming back, get my belt back.
And I, for one, agree with that. I'm sure Dricus Du Plessis, he's young enough to make a comeback, and you learn and you get better. But I'm telling you, right now, we are living in the era of Khamzat Chimaev. As I said, he took him down and got that crucifix really quick. He didn't get tired throughout the entirety of the fight. Even in the 5th round, yeah, okay, the pace slowed a little bit, and that was why Dricus was able to stop some takedowns. But this is the 5th round of an MMA fight where Khamzat had been dominating the whole time, forcing Dricus Du Plessis to carry his weight, forcing Dricus to try and use energy to get back to his feet, and ultimately forcing Dricus to just be led on his back, spread eagled in a crucifix, taking shots to the face and just defending. I'm not going to sit here and criticize Dricus Du Plessis. I think he's an incredible fighter and a great champion, and he very well may be back. But right now, we are living in the era of Khamzat Chimaev. And I'm telling you right now, and just like Dean Thomas said, this will be a disaster with Khamzat Chimaev as the champion. I don't mean because of what Dean Thomas said. Dean Thomas was like, he isn't going to be able to fight too frequently. He struggles to get visas and stuff like that. No, when I say this is a disaster, it's a disaster for the division. Because from what I see there, ain't nobody apart from Ranier de Ridder, ain't nobody beating him. Ranier de Ridder is the only guy that has a shot because of the jiu-jitsu, because of the skills that he has off his back, okay? And it was a really good point from Dean Thomas again on commentary. He's talked about Gilbert Burns when he fought Khamzat Chimaev because he had a very dangerous guard. He was forcing Chimaev to work. Even though he was on top, he was having to fight to keep his position. He was having to fight to maintain the control and even backed out a couple of times. Ranier de Ridder is probably the only guy that could do that. Yeah, of course, Sean Strickland's come out. Sean Strickland saying, no, look, listen, I'm the only guy that can beat him. Here's the thing, guys. And of course, he's going to do that. Of course, he's going to say that. He's going to insert himself into the conversation just like everybody does. But honestly, I think even Ranier de Ridder is going to have a really, really tough time. This is going to be probably a very long and dominant reign in the middleweight division. And I don't think we've ever seen a dominant wrestler like Khamzat Chimaev in the middleweight division. Typically, it's been strikers. I mean, look at Israel Adesanya, look at Anderson Silva, Rich Franklin. I mean, the list goes on. Yeah, we had Chris Weidman. He was a very good wrestler, defended the belt a few times, to be fair, but still. So yeah, Khamzat Chimaev went out there, dominated the fight. And yeah, there was a couple of times, couple of rounds that could have been 10-8 rounds. And I put that on Twitter and that caused a bit of a shitstorm because people don't know how to judge. I went to a seminar and it said, look, listen, there's 3 Ds, damage, duration, and dominance, okay? He was very dominant. He controlled the duration of the fight. And yeah, okay, he didn't necessarily do a lot of damage. But a 10-9 is scored when everything else is even. The 3Ds, damage, duration, and dominance. When they're all even, then you look at other things. If one fighter lands one extra shot, that becomes a 10-9 round to the fighter that landed the extra shot. Don't come at me. This is the language that they use, that is written down for the athletic commissions. Anyway, regardless, well done to Khamzat Chimaev. Well done to Dricus Du Plessis for taking it all in his stride and being humble in defeat. But Dricus does need to go away and maybe work on how to escape the crucifix position. There is a couple of ways of doing that. I have a really good one. I'm not saying that I know every move under the sun because I don't, but I do know a very good tried and tested way to escape the crucifix. Maybe I'll do that in another video. But anyway, there it is. There's your main event. The co-main event, Aaron Pico. A lot of pomp and circumstance, a lot of ceremony, a lot of hype about this guy coming into the UFC from other organizations. He's got boxing credentials. He's got ridiculous wrestling credentials. He's got good experience in MMA. He was the favorite over Lerone Murphy, and he got knocked out in the very first round. He was pressuring well. He was landing takedowns. Lerone was able to get back to his feet, and he did that tremendously well, by the way. Certainly against somebody with the wrestling of an Aaron Pico. He got back to his feet beautifully. He knew that Pico was going to pressure. He spun, boom, spinning elbow, put him to sleep. So there it is. Lerone Murphy now 15-0-1. I mean, it's only logical that the man fights for a title next. Alexander Volkanovski, to his credit, already came out on Twitter and said, hey, let's do it. That is the fight to make, in my humble opinion. And could you imagine if Lerone Murphy was to do it? That would be yet another English champion. So, spinning back for his knockout in the co-main event, and the fight before that with Carlos Prates against Geoff Neal, we saw another spinning elbow knockout in the very first round. Carlos Prates was doing a good job. He was fighting on his back foot. He was chipping away with calf kicks. He was throwing a few shots, but he was moving around, avoiding the power of Geoff Neal. Geoff was cutting off the cage using very smart, educated footwork. But of course, as he came in once again, boom, spinning elbow. Carlos Prates knocks him down, knocks him out, gets back to winning ways. And just like Lerone Murphy, uses his time on the microphone to try and get his teammate signed to the UFC. Both Lerone Murphy and Carlos Prates took to the mic and asked Dana White, hey, listen, my training partner, he's my main guy. Sign him to the UFC, put him on the Contender Series. So that was beautiful to see. And as we know, Carlos Prates, he even said on the microphone, he loves to party, he loves to smoke, he loves to have a good time. And fair play to him. You got to live in the moment. So much so, he couldn't wait to have a cigarette. He even lit one up at the post-fight press conference.
Carlos, what does a post-knockout cigarette feel like?
Feel amazing.
Smelling like cigarettes up here.
Who's smoking in there?
Before that, we had the only decision on the whole of the main card. Michael Venom Page versus Jared Cannonier. Great fight. Michael Venom Page went out there. He's a tough nut to crack. And he kind of just outskilled, out-talked, out-slicked Jared Cannonier. Jared's no spring chicken. Dropped him in the first round. Dropped him in the third round. Yes, Jared was able to get him down in the third round, but it wasn't able to do enough with it. It was a clear 29-28. Michael Venom Page, I think he's 37 years old, might be 38, might be 36. I could look it up, but I'm on holiday in Thailand, and my wife's going to give me shit. He's no spring chicken, but he's still got it. He's still certainly got the speed and the reflexes, and tonight we saw the power as well. So there's a lot of good fights for him. Of course, he can fight at 185, but he says that he wants to still fight at 170. But I'll tell you what, at 185 pounds, I say the fight to make, and yes, I know that they're friends. Michael Venom Page versus Israel Adesanya, or if he's not fighting Sean Strickland, Michael Venom Page versus Sean Strickland. I think both of those fights would be phenomenal. And then opening up the main card, we had Tim Elliott versus Kai Asakura. Tim Elliott, a very awkward guy, was taking a lot of shots early in the second round, got a guillotine, choked him out, turned it into a mounted guillotine, was able to get on top, held the guillotine, and forced Kai Asakura to tap out. Now, that's two fights in the UFC for the Japanese fighter. Very, very good fighter, champion in other promotions. Lost to Pantoja, not an easy man to beat, and then got submitted again tonight by Tim Elliott, who, by the way, is not an easy man to beat either. Tim Elliott is severely underrated. But what that does show is that when you get submitted 2 times in a row, yes, it was against great people. Kai Asakura has to go away and he's got to work on A, the takedown defense, and B, the submission defense. So anyway, there's a wrap up of your main card. I'm here in Thailand. I would go through the prelims, but I haven't got time. I'm getting dirty looks from the missus over there. Last day here. My family flies home tomorrow. I get on a plane and I fly to Shanghai, China to commentate Zhang Mingyang versus Johnny Walker. There's actually a really good fight card in that one. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm also looking forward to the day I get to go home. But anyway, if you're at home, thank you for watching. Subscribe and ring the bell. Congrats to the new champion, Khamzat Chimaev. As I said, I don't see anybody beating him anytime soon. One more time, subscribe, ring the bell. Catch you soon. Bye-bye. My voice is short as well. What's going on?